Welcome to the Sage Advice Podcast, transforming the way people think and work so their organizations can thrive. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and with me today is Leah Wietholter. Leah is the CEO of Workman Forensics in Tulsa, Oklahoma. As a certified fraud examiner and private investigator, Leah is an expert in following patterns to find money. While working for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Leah discovered an interest and talent for forensic accounting. Following her employment with the FBI, she worked as a senior certified fraud examiner at a public accounting firm in Tulsa. She then opened Workman Forensics to help clients become modern-day Sherlock Holmeses by equipping them with the tools to find money. Welcome to the Sage Advice Podcast, Leah Wietholter.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, first off, Leah, why do you do what you do?
I do what I do because I love solving problems. And I love to help other people solve problems as well. So whether that's as part of, we help them work their case or, identify where money has been missing. And then help them on the path of recovery, whatever that looks like, or if that's even enabling them to become a fact finder or a better investigator on their own. I just think that to be an investigator is a very empowering position. And so as a forensic accountant, a fraud investigator, a private investigator, I've always loved being able to do that and being confident that if I have data and facts, then I can solve any problem that I'm facing.
And what is a data sleuth?
A data sleuth is a trademark owned by Workman Forensics and the concept is that if we take, a lot of accountants are familiar with the term data analytics. So if we take data analytics and then we mesh that with fraud investigations or any type of investigation involving data, that we can solve a problem and identify what has happened. Where did money come from? Where did it go? What's missing? How can we find this? How did this story evolve? But we're going to do that from a data standpoint. So it's that I love using Venn diagrams. So take data analysis and connect it with a fraud investigation, and you have a data sleuth.
And what are some principles of being a data sleuth that other everyday people can incorporate into their own lives?
Yeah, so being a data sleuth, I like to also equate it to being a fact finder. So if I know we talk a lot about best evidence. So in a fraud investigation, I want to rely on best evidence, which is in most, let's say, embezzlement cases, we're going to look at the information that my subject of my investigation can't touch. So that might be bank statements that I get directly from the bank. That's my best evidence. And then I'm going to take that best evidence and convert it into data, which in the most simplest terms mean we're going to take these bank statements and put them in an Excel spreadsheet. And then we're going to use Excel. There's other fancier tools, but you can do everything in Excel. So take Excel and look at what happened, what was expected, what wasn't expected. Did this benefit the company? Did this not benefit the company? And so as a data sleuth, those are essentially the steps that we would take to work in embezzlement. And what I love is that through this concept, we're now helping other investigators or even non-professionals, they do something else for a living, understand how this works so that they can be a fact finder in their own situation. And we've adapted this to something that we call find money in divorce, where we actually help and provide our tools so that someone going through divorce, if they suspect that there's hidden assets or understated income, that they can use these tools and this concept of data sleuthing to really work their own case and find those things and find out, if their spouse is hiding money.
So if I have this right, you're really looking for the signal among the noise, but in this case, the noise is the actual legit data. Is that right?
Yeah. I haven't ever thought of it like that. Yeah, maybe. But really, I think that there's this overwhelming feeling a lot of times that I've had in my experience and other analysts have had where it's, oh my goodness, that's data just feels overwhelming and it feels messy. And so what we work on is really focusing on I like to say that money really isn't missing and it's not really hidden. You just have to know where to look and how to find it. And the way that we think is the most efficient way to find it is through almost like a manufacturing process and it is the investigative process of using data and just organizing it in really its logic to be able to find anomalies.
And have you come across any instances where cryptocurrency has played a role?
I have not. It might sound backwards to say this, but I have wanted to have one have that. I work in this backwards space, but I would like to have an opportunity to have that happen. We have had people who have invested in Bitcoin, but nothing that actually had to be traced or anything.
Yeah, and in one sense, I've heard that in a lot of cases, it's somewhat easier because it is open. That's the really interesting thing about Bitcoin is that it is open for everyone to see but you have to know where to look.
Right. Exactly.
So, Lisa, we have an exit question that we ask all of our guests, and that is, who is a hero of yours, and why are they a hero?
I thought about this one for several days actually, and I decided I would choose my grandfather. His name was Billy Don Workman, and he passed away last year, but he just completely changed the trajectory for myself and my sisters and our entire family, really. And he was on his own from a very young age, and he worked really hard and just really worked to make great choices at every step that he took, which allowed my dad and his sister to be the first generation to go to college. And then all of my sisters and I were able to go to college. And he just always really promoted. He knew I wanted to work for the FBI from a very young age. And he encouraged that. And just looking back, just to have such a strong, influential person in my life who empowered my sisters and me to go and do things that weren't super common for women to do. And so I think that's why he's my hero.
And lastly, Leah, how can somebody contact you?
Our website, workmanforensics.com, is the hub for all of our information, data sleuth, webinars, our podcast, everything like that. And then I'm also on LinkedIn all the time. So just Leah Wietholter on LinkedIn.
All right. Leah Wietholter, CEO of Workman Forensics in Tulsa. Thanks so much for being a guest on the Sage Advice podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
For more Sage Advice, visit and subscribe at sageadvicepodcast.com.